Draft nerds, welcome in to a full first round mock draft with trades. Yes, we are going to get a little frisky here. Following week 11 of the 2024 NFL season, the Jaguars have the first pick. The Tennessee Titans, their division rivals, bitter rivals, have the second overall pick. We're going to see a lot of representation in the top 10 from the AFC South, the NFC East, the AFC East, right? So we're going to dive into it. We are going to have some trades here. The Jaguars have the first overall pick. You would think, no matter who's making that decision, they'd like to trade out with a quarterback needy team. The Titans probably sticking with Will Levis. The Browns certainly need a quarterback. The Giants need a quarterback. The Raiders need a quarterback. Do the Jets need a quarterback? Maybe they're keeping Aaron Rodgers. Who knows? We're definitely going to say that someone is going to trade up here. Let's go ahead and say it is, after failing to trade up for Drake May, it's the New York Giants, who are highly motivated to get their top overall quarterback on the board. So we're going to go ahead and get this trade done between the Jaguars and the Giants. All right. Jacksonville, they have their quarterback of the present and the future. Trevor Lawrence signed a massive extension with the football team. So the Giants and Jags going to strike this trade here. What do the Giants need to give up? 1, 2, 3. Future first. Let's say 1, 2, future first. Still too much. That seems reasonable to me. I don't know. Let's make the Jaguars throw in a mid-round pick in 2026 just to make this go through. But the Giants are moving up with the Jaguars, right? I think this makes a lot of sense. And whether you think Shedeur Sanders is the top quarterback, Cam Ward, I really don't know what the Giants will think. I don't know who's going to be making those decisions. Is it going to be Joe Shane? I would guess probably not. I don't know, though. I'm going to say that Brian Daboll, still the head coach. I think he should be. I think he deserves another shot. I think Cam Ward just offers more tools, more toolsy prospect. So we're going to go in that direction with the first overall pick. You could say Jalen Milroe. I think the combination of Cam Ward's traits from a pass game perspective and creation and playmaking would make me lean in that direction if I was Brian Daboll there. Tennessee Titans, they're going to stick with Will Levis, continue to try to develop him a little bit here, potentially. And so you've got a lot of needs. You can go edge. Abdul Carter, we've talked about going there. I think that makes a ton of sense for them. They could use a legitimate edge rusher to pair with Jeffrey Simmons. You also added the big boy out of Texas, Tavondre Sweat, this past year. So look, I do think that there's a lot of directions they could go. They could look at wide receiver, corner, certainly. Lot of options here for the Tennessee Titans. Usually when you're looking at the top of the draft, you're talking about quarterback, edge, offensive tackle, this high up. And so we are going to go Abdul Carter, the Tennessee Titans. It just makes too much sense. And of course, that's a bad man, a bad pass rusher, unbelievable athleticism. He has really turned it on and showed development week to week during this season after playing primarily off the ball. So I think the sky is the limit. There really is no limit to what he could potentially do. And that does leave Shedeur Sanders here for the Cleveland Browns, which I think does make sense for them. A guy who, this is a talented roster overall. There's some tweaks that need to be made here and there. You need to upgrade the offensive line in certain spots, but I do think Shedeur Sanders could come in, and as long as he can get his pocket movement and awareness and stop drifting so much, a little more under control, I think he has all the potential to be a long-time starter in the NFL. So Shedeur Sanders might not have the elite physical tools of a Jalen Milroe or a Cam Ward in this class, but I do think he has enough to get the job done at a high enough level to, again, with a really talented Cleveland Browns team, kind of guide them and do enough for them. And then at number 4, Jaguars picking here now. Travis Hunter is too obvious of a pick. They need blue chip talent. Travis Hunter is my number one overall prospect. They can use him at corner. They can use him at wide receiver, whether he's catching passes from Trevor Lawrence or trying to shut down opposing wide receivers opposite Tyson Campbell. That one makes too much sense for the Jacksonville Jaguars. At number 5, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. They need a quarterback in the worst way. And look, Carson Beck had a tremendous performance this past weekend. I think that's going to certainly get him back into the talks if he can continue to play that way. Garrett Nussmeier, too up and down. Quinn Ewers, same deal. Jackson Dart and Drew Aller for me. The only option here, really, is Jalen Milroe. And will he enter the draft? Will he go back to school? I think if he has the opportunity to go in the top 5, top 10, Jalen Milroe probably will enter the draft. And you talk about the traits he has, you're going to have to be patient. He has to develop as a passer, but he's an unbelievable dual threat quarterback with traits. He absolutely has more juice in his arm and his legs than I've seen him compared to Jalen Hurts a lot, like a supercharged Jalen Hurts. I think that's doing him a disservice from a talent perspective overall. I think Jalen Milroe has a lot of talent. It's just got to be continued to be developed there. At number 6, the Patriots, they do not need a quarterback. They could use receivers. They could use a lot, quite frankly. How about a corner opposite Christian Gonzalez? That could be disgusting. You add Will Johnson to play alongside Christian Gonzalez. That'd be crazy. But I think you've got to protect the investment here. I absolutely think you do. And as much as I would love to give them Josh Simmons at tackle, he tore his ACL. And so I think Will Campbell, I've just liked this pairing a lot for a long time. Makes too much sense to me. Whether he's playing tackle or guard, the Patriots could use help at both. So, and I do think Will Campbell is a blue chip prospect on the interior. So that makes a lot of sense for the Patriots. At number 7, the New York Jets. Let's say they're going with a veteran quarterback. I don't know. It feels like everything the Jets try fails, unfortunately for them. They could use somebody to play Big X opposite Garrett Wilson. They could certainly use potentially a corner to pair with Sauce Gardner with DJ Reed, looking like he's headed towards free agency. They could use another edge, right? Looks like Hassan Reddick probably not going to be sticking around there. A lot of options for them. You know, for me, I'm going to give them one of the blue chip guys I have. And to me, Mason Graham, Will Johnson, and yes, Tyler Warren are the remaining blue chip players, along with Malachi Starks. Guys that really deserve to be at the top of that draft. Obviously, Mason Graham is awesome, but do you want to pair him with Quinnen Williams or do you want to go elsewhere? I'm gonna give them Tyler Warren. And I know that's bold, but this guy is unbelievable. Whatever you want to call him. Baby Gronk. To me, he's like somewhere in between Gronk and George Kittle. He's an unbelievable route runner at 260 pounds. He can be a wildcat quarterback. He has great hands, great route running instincts. He's explosive. He is powerful. You can put him in line, in the slot, in the backfield. You can do so much with a Tyler Warren. I think he deserves to go in the top 10 of this class, despite some folks saying, oh, positional value. He's an unbelievable talent and a guy that certainly could help get the Jets being a more dominant football team and a team that has real answers on the offense to go with Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. At number 8, the Carolina Panthers, I think you're sticking with Bryce Young here. And so you want to help him out. I think that their offensive line is much improved. I think this is a good spot for Tetairoa McMillan. Mason Graham, fantastic. But you obviously have Derek Brown coming back. Could they play together? Certainly. I definitely think they could play together. But best use of the asset here, I think, is Will Johnson falling to number 8. That is just too easy of a pick. It really, really is. He is a blue chip stud of a corner. He's a prototype type of corner. Has the size, the length, athleticism, unbelievably quick feet, fluid hips, sees the game well, makes plays on the ball, can come downhill. So I mentioned blue chip prospects and I forgot to mention Ashton Genty. Let's just do it. Everybody wants to do it. Let's just do it here. Ashton Genty to the Dallas Cowboys. He should not last till pick 9 overall. He absolutely should not. But Genty brings it all. 3-down running back. Best tackle breaking back I have seen in a long time. I love the short kinks. He's 5'9", 215, ball of muscle that has real juice and explosiveness as well. And certainly for the New Orleans Saints, you could look at Tetairoa McMillan here. But Mason Graham's still on the board, and they absolutely could use his help. He's too good of a player to still be available at this point. Should have been gone a long time ago. So Mason Graham, the uber talented. He's explosive off the ball, violent hands, great flexibility. He's going to be a 3-down impact player for a very long time in the NFL. And Cincinnati Bengals would have liked to have been able to add him, but maybe, just maybe, T. Higgins finds his way outside of Cincinnati and the Bengals feel like they got to go get themselves somebody to replace him. How about Tetairoa McMillan? T-Mac, 6'5", 215, Velcro hands, great catch radius, nuanced route runner. Some surprising quickness and agility at his size. That leaves us with Miami here at number 12. They could use a lot of different areas to improve this football team that got kind of, there was a lot of loss this past offseason, for lack of a better word. And, they lost a lot on the trenches. Calais Campbell has done really well for them, but he's not going to be around forever. It's going to be a bold mock draft, and I think Walter Nolan, when you look at him as somebody who could potentially be not necessarily Christian Wilkins-esque, because Wilkins is a bigger, more physical run defender, but somebody who I think can be a better pass rusher than Christian Wilkins is and was for them, and I think Walter Nolan can absolutely be that guy. And also continue to develop as a run defender. He has no lack of strength, but his ability to win at the line of scrimmage, at the point of attack, and create pressure against the run, against the pass, it is truly unbelievable. Former top overall recruit in his recruiting class a few years back. Walter Nolan has really come on at Ole Miss. So I think that would be a fantastic pick for the Miami Dolphins. All right. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they need edge, corner, wide receiver, maybe wide receiver if Chris Godwin ends up leaving. I would love to get them another edge. I know they've got some free agency stuff going on. I think James Pierce Jr. is somebody who probably should be off the board by now and has all the potential in the world to just be a sack master. He is so explosive with great length, can, rush on the outside arc, and then also has the ability to cross your face and get inside. You're so worried about his explosive ability to get up the field. You overset and then boom, in the quarterback's lap and a flash on the inside counter. So James Pierce Jr., very nice pick for the Buccaneers there. The Chicago Bears, they have got to be looking at offensive tackle, in my opinion. Left tackle, interior offensive line. Let's check out what we've got going on here. I do have my questions about Kelvin Banks being able to survive at tackle with his balance issues. Doesn't have great length. Ariante Ursary, I just don't see the overall bend and flexibility and athleticism for him to be a tackle that goes this high off the board. I honestly do think one of the best prospects on the board at this point is going to be, just gathering my thoughts, Josh Simmons. I mean, Josh Simmons, I know he might not be ready to start in week 1, but you're building this out long term for Caleb Williams to succeed at the highest level. Having Josh Simmons and Darnell Wright as your bookend tackles, I think, is fantastic. Josh Simmons is my OT1 despite the ACL. As long as he's able to come back from that, look healthy, and get ready for, whether it's missing the first 4 weeks of the season, whatever it may be. All right. We've got the Indianapolis Colts, a team that absolutely values athleticism. Ballard is an RAS guy. He loves adding players that just are off the charts from an athletic standpoint. But, corner in this Gus Bradley defense is so important, and they just have not gone after it early enough. And he's so far down on the board here for some reason you can't even see him. But we're going as R.E.A. Thomas, who I think is going to fly up draft boards out of Florida State. He's got length, he's got size, athleticism. He is really quick and smooth and fluid. I think he can be absolute star in a Gus Bradley cover 3 based defense. Is R.E.A. Thomas out of Florida State. I said this was going to be bold, right? I'm sticking to my guns here. I think Azareye'h Thomas should be a first-round pick. Seattle Seahawks. Could use a lot of help, a lot of different spots. I'm just going to give them the best possible player that's available, and that's Malachi Starks. Unbelievable talent at safety. Can play single high, can play split zone, can play all over the field for you. Has gotten a lot of reps at nickel this year. So I think Malachi Starks is going to just be a linchpin of that defense for a long time. And of course, their head coach knows the value of a dominant safety. At number 17, Los Angeles Rams, they have a ton of options here. They could improve their cornerback room, although I'm not super sold on the guys here. Shavon Ravel, obviously super talented, length, all that good stuff, but coming off the ACL could be an option for them. They've kind of set themselves up on the defensive front for a while, I would say. Could they be interested in a Kelvin Banks? Could they be interested in a wide receiver? Luther Burden? I think Luther Burden has unbelievable potential that has not really been harnessed very well by Missouri. Lack of quarterback play, lack of creative offense. I think Luther Burden, Emeka Egbuka, or Isaiah Bond would all be really good fits for them. Luther Burden and Emeka Egbuka in similar roles. Isaiah Bond would be more of a deep threat, but Luther Burden is kind of a bridge between Egbuka and Bond. Has all that explosive ability, but also the size that Emeka Egbuka brings to the field. Luther Burden is just such an easy pick, and I know Justin Mello, we mocked his mock yesterday. He had that same pick, but it just makes too much sense for me. Looking at the San Francisco 49ers, they could use edge. Absolutely, they could use edge. They could use a right tackle. Do we have a right tackle we would feel comfortable? Oh, yeah. Jonas Avenea. Absolutely. I think he can play right tackle. I think he can play guard. You feel really good about his projection to the 49ers. I think that'd be fantastic. He has the length and the physicality, and I think enough footwork to survive at tackle, especially in this scheme. Yeah. And now you've got Trent Williams, you've got him, you've got Dominic Pooney, you've got, as long as Trent Williams can continue to play left tackle for you, and he's showing no signs of letting up, I think you've got a really nice offensive line brewing there. All right. Denver Broncos. Use receiver. Tight end. Yeah, Colson Loveland. And that's exactly what Justin Mello did yesterday at the Draft Network. Hard for me to pass up on Loveland. That just makes too much sense. Sean Payton getting a reliable pass catcher at tight end for Bo Nix. It's a good pick. It's a solid pick there. All right, Atlanta Falcons. Can we get our edge rusher? Can we do it? We've been trying to do it for years for the Falcons. And, Michael Williams, he's definitely a project in terms of his pass rush, but he's a unbelievable run defender right now and has all the potential in the world. I think at this spot, it just makes too much sense. Arizona Cardinals could also use an edge. You've got Scorton, you've got LT Overton, JT Tuimolau, Princely Umamielen. I think Scorton, the fall has gone on long enough, and he probably put on a little bit too much weight at Texas A&M. He's in a rotation with Shamar Stewart and the rest of those guys over there, Shamar Turner. I think Nick Scorton, you get his weight down a little bit and you see a little bit of that explosiveness come back. He's got a variety of pass rush moves. He's 285 right now. Get him into the 270 range and let him work. And he's going to be a big physical run defender and someone who has a lot of polish as a pass rusher. And he's super young still too. He is an ascending talent. So Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M. Washington. Yeah, they could definitely use offensive tackle. They could use edge rush. They could use corner. I'm trying to do my best by these teams, not necessarily predicting exactly what they would do, trying to take what they could do and also put my spin on it, do the best I can for them. Let's see. This is one team, they do not need interior defensive line, but there's a couple good interior defensive linemen on the board that I would value here. Could they go get another receiver for Jaden Daniels? I think that actually makes a ton of sense. And Terry McLaurin is kind of a do-it-all guy. Emeka Ibuka, you line him up in the slot, and I love that. I think that's a good value at this spot and another pass catcher for Jaden Daniels to be able to rely on. Houston Texans, they could use an interior defensive lineman. And look, Kenneth Grant to me is just more of a one-tech type of guy with a little bit of juice. Deion Walker is, wow, unbelievable potential, but the difference between the floor and the ceiling for him is massive. I have a legitimate first-round grade on Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State, who is dominant at the point of attack. The way he disengages unbelievably quickly and is able to get into the backfield, I think that's a perfect pick for the Houston Texans. At 24, Baltimore Ravens, who are they going to steal, right? They always find a way to get a great value in the draft, don't they? Offensive tackle. What do we got? What is available for us? They could just kind of use help across the offensive line right now. Tyler Booker certainly is a Raven type of player. Is there an edge that makes a ton of sense for them? Is there a running back? Derrick Henry ain't going to play forever. I don't know. This is an interesting spot for them. The Kelvin Banks slide has to stop at some point. I think they could value Kelvin Banks, and I think that they're the type of team that would be able to coach him up and get the best out of him, whether that's at tackle or guard, and they could use him in both spots long term. So we'll go ahead and get that done for them. The Los Angeles Chargers. What a resurgence by the Los Angeles Chargers. A lot of fun there. They've got two aging edge players. They obviously also do have the young kid from USC in his second year. I'm a huge fan of LT Overton. I'm a fan of Princely Umamielen as well. But I think LT Overton, with his athleticism, size, length, ability to rush from the interior as well, potential, I like that pick a lot for them. Green Bay. They could use a little interior defensive line. Maybe use some edge help after they moved on from Preston Smith. Hopefully Lucas Van Ness continues to develop. Corner, obviously Jair Alexander up there in age. A lot of different directions we could go for the Green Bay Packers. What are we going to do? So I'm a really big fan of Derek Harmon, who I think could be a game wrecker for them on the interior as an interior pass rusher, three tech type. He has some run versatility as well, but somebody who is super explosive, good bend, athleticism, a variety of hand moves to get into the backfield. Derek Harmon to the Packers at 26. 27, the Steelers. They always draft somebody I'm a big fan of, so we're going to continue that trend here. Who would I be the biggest fan of for the Pittsburgh Steelers here? Isaiah Bond would be a heck of a fit. Pairing him with George Pickens. Let's go ahead and put it on the board. I love that. They did enough, more than enough, to kind of revamp that offensive line. You could also look at corner here, but again, I think Isaiah Bond is better than any of the corners available. That's a lot of fun. The speed and athleticism, quickness that he brings to the position to pair with George Pickens and Roman Wilson. Hopefully Roman Wilson is able to make an impact long term. Minnesota Vikings, another team that I usually am a big fan of the way they draft. How about, they're the type of team that makes sense for Jalen Walker for me, who certainly could go higher than this, but because he's such a hybrid type of player and he has a lot of development, I think that Jalen Walker makes sense for the Minnesota Vikings and Brian Flores' defense. Philadelphia Eagles, they revamped their cornerback room. They could get younger at edge, although they've got some guys there. Where's the best Georgia player? That's generally the direction they like to go, isn't it? And I mean, they've had an unbelievable resurgence at linebacker with Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean. They're just looking pretty solid everywhere. It's typical Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, we're just going to go with Princely, who I think is a freak pass rusher, can do it all from the pass rush, from the edge spot. You know, he has the length, the athleticism, the quickness. He has a variety of hand moves. He can win on the outside arc. He has an inside spin counter that's absolutely devastating. Has the size and length to be an adequate run defender as well. Princely Umami Ellen. All right, what are we going to do for these Buffalo Bills? Now, this is starting to be the range where Kenneth Grant could make sense as somebody who can just be a beef eater on the interior for you and has a little bit of juice as well, more flexibility than you would expect, but going to be primarily a run defender and gap eater. Could the Bills go edge as well? They certainly could. Looks like they might feel comfortable being, at wide receiver with Amari Cooper, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, obviously Dalton Kincaid as a receiving threat as well. You're hoping Rasul Douglas would stick around there. Linebacker, they've had just Matt Milano has been so injury plagued. It's been really unfortunate in that regard. They did address safety in the draft last year. I'm sticking to my guns, man. Xavier Watts is a stud. He needs to be considered in the first round. He is a playmaker. He is, leading the nation in interceptions, I believe, over the last couple years, and somebody who is reads the game incredibly well. Xavier Watts feels like a Bill to me. All right, Kansas City Chiefs. What could they use here? They could definitely use somebody to play next to Chris Jones. I mean, that would create an absolutely beastly defensive front. But yeah, offensive tackle has to be in consideration for them. Does have to be in consideration. I don't know that this is the spot for it. You did see Josh Connerly go to them in the Justin Mello mock draft yesterday, which I think is a pretty good fit overall. They could definitely use corner as well. Maybe this is the spot where a corner comes off the board. Yeah, we'll hook them up with Ravel and say that they feel like they can develop him into a big time press man corner when he gets back from injury. And then Detroit Lions at 32. Who is a Detroit Lion? They could definitely use edge to help out our boy Aiden Hutchinson long term. I know JT Tuimoloau has a lot of mixed reviews. He probably does belong in this range, in my opinion. They could also upgrade their interior, which has fallen off a little bit. Jonah Jackson left. They did bring in Zeitler, but he's not going to be there forever. Could Tyler Booker make sense for them? I absolutely do think so. So I'd be looking between JT Tuimoloau and Tyler Booker. And I think Tuimoloau is such a good run defender. I think that there's untapped potential as a pass rusher. And if Aaron Glenn is still there, which is a big if as defensive coordinator, I like pairing up JT Tuimoloau with the Detroit Lions. All right. That's going to do it for this one. We had a trade at the top. The Giants getting up to number 1 to take Cam Ward out of Miami, who has plenty of question marks, but unbelievable physical traits as a quarterback playmaker. Abdul Carter at number 2 to the Titans. Shador Sanders to the Browns at 3. Travis Hunter to the Jaguars at 4. Jalen Milroe at 5 to the Raiders. Will Campbell to the Patriots. Tyler Warren, big swing there for the New York Jets. They probably should have taken Brock Bowers this past year. They did not. They get Tyler Warren, who's not the same player, but a very, very good tight end who can be an offensive engine, to help out whoever is playing quarterback there, and obviously Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. Will Johnson at number 8 to the Carolina Panthers. Ashton Genty, the most commonly mocked pick right now, to the Dallas Cowboys. 10, Mason Graham to the Saints. Tedero McMillan to the Cincinnati Bengals. Walter Nolan to the Miami Dolphins. James Pierce Jr., the edge, to Tampa. Josh Simmons to the Chicago Bears. Azareye'h Thomas to Indianapolis. Malachi Starks to Seattle. Luther Burden to the Rams. Jonas Avenea to the San Francisco 49ers. Colston Loveland to the Broncos. Michael Williams to the Falcons. Nick Scorton, Cardinals. Emeka Egbuka to the Commanders. Tyleik Williams to the Houston Texans. Kelvin Banks to Baltimore. LT Overton goes to the Chargers. Derek Harmon headed to Green Bay. Isaiah Bond going to Pittsburgh. Jalen Walker headed up to Minnesota. Princely Umamielen goes to Philly. Xavier Watts to the Bills. Siobhan Ravel to the Kansas City Chiefs. And JT Tuimoloau to the Detroit Lions. Thank you all so much again for tuning in. This is Rogue Football. It's all draft all the time here on the channel. If you enjoy it, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Let me know your thoughts on this mock draft in the comment section below. Have a good one.